Hi everyone, I hope you've all had a lovely weekend, whatever it is you've been doing. I'm sure that some of you have probably been wrapping some Christmas presents and getting in the festive mood. Some of you might have been outside enjoying nature, or some of you might have been battling through the crowds to do a last minute Christmas shopping. I'm filming this before the weekend, and I definitely need to buy some more presents for people. I've probably only bought about 10 presents and I've got a lot of people to buy for. So this weekend, Miss Paget is going to be doing a lot of online ordering, I think. So we are doing our third instalment of our writing. So I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller just so that you can see the screen and you can see what I've written. So I'm going to do that now, but I'm going to put myself down here so I'm not in the way of our writing. Okay, so today we are going to start writing our non-chronological reports. So we are going to do both our introduction as our first subheading, and then you're going to do an additional subheading on top of that. So you're going to do 2 subheadings today, and then tomorrow we'll do the other 2. Because I just think you may as well spend time on your writing and make it the best that you can be, that it can be, sorry. 2 things that you're going to need are your drawing to help you with the information that you have put on the side. Then another thing would be the plan that you've made. Hopefully you had time to make one of those. And there should be at least 2 bullet points in each bit of the plan, so that you've got something to go for from when you start writing. Okay, and then the last thing is something that I've made that is on this flip here, so it's on this slide, and it is the non-chronological report toolkit. So you will have a sheet with this toolkit on the home learning page, or if you wanted to, it might be slightly easier, you can just have it from this slide here. And what I'll do is at the end of the video I'll make it even bigger, just so that you can see it a little bit more clearly. Okay, so this non-chronological report toolkit that I've made, it has some important things that you can use to make your writing a little bit more exciting. It gives you some ideas for sentence starters and some ideas of how you can phrase things and give extra detailed information about your subject, so about your creature. So what you've got here is you have got some useful generalizers. So generalizers are words that tell us how often something happens. So it might tell us how many of something, so how many of your animals live in a certain part of the world. It might tell us how often something happens, so how often they eat. Or it might tell you about something that happens once in a blue moon, so occasionally. So those are our generalizers that you can use to make your writing a little more interesting. And then we have got some interesting adverbial openers. So we all know about our fronted adverbials. You guys are great for this. So we have got words such as interestingly, surprisingly, curiously, and fascinatingly. These are things that I've included on mine because I think that if you've got something really interesting that you would like to say, then you might want to start that with interestingly or fascinatingly, because the reader then knows that whatever you're going to say next is going to be really important. And then surprisingly and curiously, you might perhaps use those if you weren't expecting the animal to live in this part of the world. So for example, my merwolf lives in the North Atlantic Ocean. You might not expect that, and that might be quite surprising because it's part werewolf, so you might use surprisingly. So those are just a few of the ways that you can use your interesting adverbial openers within your writing. So last but not least, you've got your technical vocabulary. So we know about this, don't we? And it's making sure that we are making the right word choices when we are writing our non-chronological report, so that we sound like we know what we're talking about, essentially, and just that we can be using the best vocab possible. So instead of having killer, predator, and prey, And also, if you're detailing what the animal's eating, you might want to say herbivore or carnivore. And scientific here, you might want to make up that some sort of scientific research has happened with your creature, and you can add in like a statistic or a fact. So I think I've included in mine that some scientific research has been done on the eyes of the merwolf, and they have found this from their research. So that might be another way that you can make it sound really specific or exciting. So I have written my 2 paragraphs, and we are going to go through, and as you can see, I've made a key here. We're going to go through and have a look at what I've included in my writing from this toolkit, and we're also going to look at how I've gone back to my plan and used that to help me with my writing as well. If I notice that there's anything maybe that I would like to change, that's absolutely fine, because we can always do that with our writing. Just because we want to change something doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means you've had a brilliant idea and you need to get it down. So we will have a look through the writing, and we will use the key to highlight or underline the features I've used from the toolkit. Okay, so first paragraph is going to be under the subheading Introduction, because on my plan, the first subheading I used was my introduction, and I'm definitely not going to put my introduction at the end because it needs to introduce what I'm talking about, essentially. So I've put introduction, and for my introductions I have written, merwolves are magnificent creatures with the bodies of a mermaid and a wolf combined. They make one of the world's most deadly predators. I've put predator, so I need to go back, and I need to put an S in there. Predators. There we go. Surprisingly, the majority of merwolves live in the dark depths of the North Atlantic Ocean, far from civilization. So I'm going to have a look at generalizers first, because it's on here. It is the first one on my toolkit. So I can see that for my useful generalizers, I have put the majority of merwolves. So I have said how many. So it can be how often or how many your generalizers. So I have said the majority of merwolves, okay? So I haven't just said merwolves live in the dark depths. I've said the majority. So it might be that some merwolves live somewhere else, which I could mention at the end of my chronological report. So next I'm going to have a look at fronted adverbials. So fronted adverbials, so I've started the sentence up here with merwolves are magnificent creatures. So I've used really good descriptive language, but not a fronted adverbial. But here I've used surprisingly, because as I mentioned earlier, you might not know that merwolves live in the North Atlantic Ocean, or it might be a surprise that they perhaps don't live closer to land because half of them is a land animal. So I've put surprisingly there. Okay, and I've also used some technical vocabulary. It's not included in here. Or actually predator is, isn't it? So we can underline predator. And then I've also said civilization. But remember, your technical vocabulary is also going to include what you're talking about, because it's specific, isn't it? You're talking about that in your report. So civilization, it's like a city, a town, a place where people live. So merwolves live far away from civilization, probably because they want to get away from humans. So I've underlined civilization as one of my words. Right, so this is the second subheading that I have used, and I have used what does a merwolf look like? So again, just give that a little correction. What does a merwolf look like? And because this is a subheading, I'm going to make sure that it's in bold, so it stands out from the rest of my writing. So if you want to make your writing a little bit thicker when you're doing your subheadings, that is absolutely fine. So I think it's, we'll read through it sentence at a time, and we'll underline on this one because it's quite a lot of writing. So fascinatingly, the merwolf has wide webbed flippers instead of paws, which allows it to swipe at prey and move through the water at 100 miles per hour. So here, straight away, I can see that I've used an interesting adverbial opener. So I'm going to underline that, because it is fascinating that they can move through the water at 100 miles per hour. So if you have any unusual facts about your creature, that would be a perfect way to start your sentence. I've just moved you off of a stand because I noticed that my face was getting a little bit dark. So hopefully you can see me a little bit better, even if it looks like I'm slightly looking down at you. So I do apologise. So I've included some descriptive language here, and fascinatingly, because I have got my my fact here, which I will just underline here. So I go on from that to say, inside each flipper are 2 golden retractable talons, which, well, Miss Paget's missed a word out here, which are ideal for hunting and breaking up sharp rocks and boulders on the seabed. Okay, so straight away I've seen here that I have got some more technical language. So retractable talons, because that is incredibly specific. It's telling me what the thing is. It's a talon and it's retractable. So if I just said claw, that would be very different, but it's telling me about the type of claw it is and what it exactly does. And not only that, but it's telling me that it's ideal for hunting and breaking up sharp rocks and boulders on the seabed. Okay, so I would maybe put hunting as well, because that's my technical vocabulary. That is what the retractable talons are for. Okay, so we're on to our last, my last point. Remember I said 2 per paragraph, so that's what I've done here. Usually I'd probably write more, I think, but just to show you today so it's easy, we've got 2. So, upon its head, 2 glowing eyes sit amongst its silky grey fur. Okay, here I have got 2 things that I have noticed. I hope you've noticed them as well. They're not on my list over here, but equally they are very important when you're writing, and those are prepositions. So upon its head sit 2 glowing eyes. Upon its head 2 glowing eyes sit amongst its silky grey fur. So again, I've used the descriptive language, but I've also said where exactly the eyes are. They're amongst the fur. So see if you can use some prepositions in your writing as well. Okay, right, on to our next sentence. I can already see something straight away, so I'm getting my green pen out. Curiously, these luminous balls of light are known for luring fishermen out of their boats and into the water. So I've got curiously here because I'm about to tell a curious fact about the merwolf's eyes. So these luminous balls of light are known for luring fishermen out of their boats and into the water. So I think I've used some technical vocab here. So I am going to underline luminous and luring, because that's luring says something about its predatory nature, and then luminous, it tells me just how bright its eyes actually are. Okay, we're on to our last sentence. So scientific research has also shown that they dramatically light up the water so that a merwolf can see for up to 2 miles from where it is swimming. So I've underlined scientific research there because that is the technical vocabulary in this sentence, and it's something that I've used from the toolkit. So it's very specific because it's telling us that science is saying that these eyes can help them see for up to 2 miles. And if we didn't have that, I could just say they can see for up to 2 miles, but it's allowing me to be a bit more technical and sort of wow people a bit more, because they'll think, oh wow, science is showing this. So I've also written the key for prepositions here. I've got to quickly just explain how to lay it out. So just put your title, just like I've done here, just use a piece of paper to write your title and then your first subheading. Remember, you can do it in slightly different writing if you want, your subheadings and your titles, but don't do your second until you've finished your first subheading, because otherwise you're not going to have any room. Use the toolkit to help you provide you with interesting words you can include. All the best. I look forward to seeing what you come up with. Good luck!